Is this new Mercedes convertible the Goldilocks of soft tops? That just right blend of luxury, comfort, and a little dollop of ostentation? That's what I'm here to find out. Whether this new CLE-Class Cabriolet, which is actually two cars in one, has hit the soft top sweet spot. Two cars in one, I hear you ask? Let me briefly explain. Simply, Mercedes-Benz has rationalised its range of coupes and convertibles. Where previously you could buy a C-Class Cabriolet or the slightly larger E-Class convertible, today the German brand has merged the two together to create a single one-size-fits-all model. And it's the car you see here, the CLE-Class Cabriolet. So has Mercedes-Benz taken the best bits from two of its most popular convertibles to create a single super soft top? Let's take a closer look. You'd expect a car that takes its cues from the smaller C-Class and the larger E-Class to sit somewhere between the two in terms of size. And you'd be wrong. The new CLE is not only a fair bit longer than the C-Class Cabriolet by about 16 centimetres, it's also marginally longer than the old E-Class convertible. Maybe it should have been called the F-Class. It wears its size well though, its pleasing proportions cutting an imposing figure on the road. All the usual Mercedes design hallmarks are in place. There's this lovely grille, the three-pointed star logo, these sleek LED headlights, 19-inch AMG alloy wheels, and this crease that runs along the side of the car that lends it a sharp side profile. Now, it might be a convertible, but I really like the way this car looks with the roof up. It's got this pleasing flat shape that leads gently down to the back and around to the boot, giving it a notch-back appearance. I much prefer this to the regular coupe, which has more of a lift-back profile. There are plenty of metal and chrome garnishes along the side and around the front of the CLE, and to me, they look a little bit overdone. However, they come into their own with the roof down. The CLE300 taking on the appearance of a classy and elegant convertible. And opening the roof is as easy as pulling on this button in the centre console. The whole operation takes around 20 seconds and can be done at speeds of up to 60 kilometres an hour. If you're shopping around for a convertible just in time for summer, there's a range of new and used models available from our dealer network on Drive Marketplace, so be sure to check it out. Pricing for the new Mercedes-Benz CLE300 Cabriolet starts at $135,900 plus on-road costs. It's the only model in the broader range Australia is getting for now. Our test car wears a $1,700 optional coat of Patagonia red paint, bringing the as-tested price to $137,600 or around $146,000 drive-away if you live in New South Wales. The final drive-away price may vary depending on which state or territory you live in. The CLE300 is powered by a 2-litre turbocharged 4-cylinder petrol engine mated to a 9-speed automatic transmission and sitting on an all-wheel drive platform. As you'd expect from a Mercedes, the list of standard equipment is plentiful and premium. As well as standard equipment like an 11.9-inch infotainment touchscreen and a 12.3-inch digital instrument display, there's also adaptive LED headlights, LED taillights, 19-inch alloy wheels, and man-made leather seat upholstery. Convenience items include dual-zone climate control, a driver head-up display, wireless smartphone charging, heated front seats, and an automatic seatbelt feeder. For the audiophiles out there, the CLE300 Cabrio scores a premium Burmester sound system with Dolby Atmos, which sounds awesome even with the roof down. And Mercedes hasn't scrimped on safety technologies either, with autonomous emergency braking, lane keeping assist, blind spot monitoring, rear cross traffic alert, and traffic sign recognition, all standard inclusions. There's also adaptive cruise control and a sharp 360-degree surround view camera. Rivals for Merc's newest convertible are a bit thin on the ground, but the BMW 4 Series and Audi A5 Cabrio leap to mind. Inside, the CLE Class really puts its best foot forward. The first thing you'll notice is this lovely man-made white leather interior. It's not real leather, of course, as is the way these days. And while it might not be to everyone's taste, it looks really special, contrasted against the Patagonia red paint job on our test car. These sport seats are a unique design for the CLE Class, and I have to say they're very comfortable. I've gone on a long drive and I wasn't troubled at all with the stiff back or anything like that. They're power adjustable in myriad ways, and there are these 3 memory functions that you can store and select your personalized preference, meaning you'll never have to fiddle around when somebody else has been in your car. There's seat heating that works in 3 stages, and this little button here that toggles the what Mercedes calls the air scarf, which basically blows hot air onto your neck through a vent in the headrest. It's perfect for when you're driving with the top down and the weather might be just a little bit chilly. The overall design of the cabin is taken from the Mercedes-Benz playbook, and specifically the new C-Class sedan. Pretty much everything you see here, from the dash, the integration of the air vents, this screen, the digital driver display, is straight out of the new C-Class sedan. Storage amenities are pretty standards. There's some door pockets that can take smaller bottles, a pair of cup holders here, a tray which acts as a wireless charging pad for your smartphone, although accessing it can be a little bit tricky, especially if you're on the move. Not that you should be touching your phone on the move. There's this central storage compartment. It's quite shallow, but it's good enough for wallets, keys, and a few other odds and sods. There are a couple of USB Type-C points there. There's another one down there. And there's a okay sized glove box, but up front, in terms of storage, that's pretty much it. This 11.9 portrait style infotainment touchscreen is a little ripper. It's responsive to inputs, super slick to use, and the menu structure is really easy to get your head around. There's inbuilt satellite navigation, wireless and wired Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. And there are also the climate controls located within the menu, but what Mercedes has done is made sure that they're on permanent display. So if you want to change the temperature or adjust fan speed, it's just one press of a screen button. One of the CLE's neat little party tricks is this screen. When you're driving with the top down, as I have been, you'll note that there's a fair bit of glare directly onto the screen, which then distorts the image and you can't really see it very clearly. So what Mercedes has done is provided this little function. You press that button and the screen tilts forward, no more glare. It's clever technology and one that we really appreciate, especially when you're driving with the top down. Sitting in the front here is a pretty special experience, especially with the roof down as we have today. You can see where your money's gone, and it's money well spent. The cabin is plush, a little bit ostentatious and luxurious. Everything feels really solid and tight, and it's just a typically classy interior that we've come to expect from Mercedes-Benz. But that's what I think. What do you think of the interior? Do you like these white leather seats? Let us know in the comments below. Into the second row, and I have to say it's pretty easy to get in thanks to this really wide aperture. Some convertibles you have to sort of contort your body, not so with this one. It's quite easy to get in. Once in though, you'll find it's pretty tight. There's not a lot of leg room. As you can see, there's these big scallops in the front seat backs, and if it wasn't for those, your legs and knees would be hard up against it. I'm sitting behind my own 173 centimetre tall driving position, and it's still pretty tight. The seat backs, I have to say, are very upright and you can't adjust them, so you're sitting pretty upright, which isn't the most comfortable, especially if you're planning on going on a longer road trip. It's strictly a 4-seater. There's only 2 seats back here. The middle position is a pair of cup holders and a storage thing, and there's this massive transmission tunnel that eats into foot space. There's not much in the way of amenities. There's a couple of little, there's another little storage nook down here, little one there, couple of air vents, and if you've got kids and you need a child seat restraints, there are Isofix anchors on both seats. In terms of comfort, it's okay for those shorter boulevard cruises, but if your mate says to you, let's go on a 400k road trip down the coast with the top down, I'd be giving it a miss unless you can call shotgun on the front passenger seat. Let's take a look at the boot. With the roof up, unlike what we've got now, there's 385 litres to play with, which is the same as the old E-Class Cabriolet, and for context only, about the same as a Volkswagen Golf. But when you open the roof, that is reduced to 295 litres. After all, that roof has got to go somewhere. There's not a lot going on in here. There's a floor that you can lift with a little plastic container in it, a couple of hooks. These levers here that create a ski port. But don't go looking for a spare tyre, because there isn't one. There's not even a puncture repair kit. Instead, this car sits on run-flat tyres. So, let's take this bad boy for a drive. The driving experience is a little bit more C-Class than E-Class, and that's down to the 2-litre 4-cylinder engine doing the hard work under the bonnet. It reminds me of a C-Class. Now, I'm a previous E-Class owner. I've owned a couple of older generation E-Classes, and there's something about a lusty 6-cylinder engine that's hard not to like. This, though, is a different experience. That's not to say it's bad. That's far from it. This is actually a very tractable little engine. I think it's got 190 kilowatts, 400 newton meters. It's got plenty of get up and go when you want it to. It's smooth, it's quiet, it's responsive, and it provides pretty effortless motoring. That's true around town, and that's true out on the highway, where we've spent a fair bit of time behind the wheel of this CLE-Class. Of course, how the engine behaves is almost, not quite, but almost secondary to a car like this. The real joy in a vehicle like this is up here, or rather, what's not up here. Today is a perfect example. It's about 26 degrees outside, according to the Bureau of Meteorology, and it's really perfect convertible weather. There's a light breeze blowing through, and if ever you needed a reason to own a convertible, then days like today are it. And remember, if you're after a new or a used car, head on over to Drive Marketplace, where we've got plenty of cars for you to check out right now via our dealer network. Of course, that's not to diminish the engine in this car, which is a very good engine. As I've said before, it's smooth, it's powerful enough, and it's very responsive. It works well with the 9-speed traditional torque converter automatic. No DSG here, no double clutch, which is a bit of a bonus in our eyes. Just makes this a very pleasant car to drive. And that's true of the suspension as well. Mercedes has been guilty in the past of tuning their cars to be a little bit firm, a little bit sporty. But they haven't done that with this. This is a boulevard cruiser, and it seems like Mercedes' engineers have treated it as such. And the suspension tune is nice and supple, but not too soft. Just enough to make sure that you're comfortable and compliant behind the wheel. The steering too, it's not too heavy, not too light, it's just nice and precise, making this a very easy car to drive. And that's what you want when you're in a convertible, or any car for that matter. You don't want something that you have to wrestle. This is quite an easy and lovely car to drive. Now, it's not a sports car, nor does it pretend to be. This is a very comfortable tourer, one best enjoyed with the roof off, just to get that open top experience, the sun in your hair, or the sun on your head rather, the wind in your hair. Just a nice way to enjoy the day. One of the cool features of this Mercedes convertible, and any Mercedes Cabrio for that matter, is this air deflector, which when you press it, brings up a little vane up top that deflects the wind away from the cabin, and it means that you and your companion sitting alongside you can have a nice easy conversation without having to resort to yelling. Now, while this might not be a sports car, Mercedes has tried to imbue a little bit of sportiness into the CLE-Class, and that's through some drive modes. There's eco mode, normal mode, or comfort mode rather, as it's called, and there is a sport mode, which does add a little bit of theatre, if you will. The engine sounds just a little bit more gruff, and the transmission holds onto revolutions a touch longer to just give you a little bit of a thrill from behind the wheel. Not that it's going to be setting any land speed records, but it is a reasonably engaging car to drive. Earlier in the week, I took it to one of my favourite rural back roads and found it, I guess the best word is pleasant. It wasn't thrilling, but it was fun enough to put a smile on my face. One minor gripe is the 48-volt mild hybrid system. Mercedes says it helps for smoother and faster idle stop-start responses, but I found, to be honest, quite the opposite. Sometimes a bit of a lag between stepping on the accelerator after stopping at traffic lights, say, and the engine cutting in again to provide some propulsion. The other feature I've yet to experience, and that's Mercedes claiming that under certain driving conditions and in eco mode, The 48-volt hybrid system will shut down the engine and maintain a set coasting speed of the CLE class. That hasn't happened for me yet, so I'm wondering just how narrow the window of opportunity is for that feature to kick in. If you're finding this video helpful, how about giving us a like down below? It really helps us to determine what sort of content you want to see. That said, this really is a lovely car to drive. One I would suggest that will leave you happy and looking forward to getting behind the wheel, and in fact making excuses to get behind the wheel even when you don't need to. So is this, the latest Cabriolet from Mercedes-Benz, the right one for you? Certainly, it makes a compelling case as a large and luxurious soft top with loads of street appeal and an enjoyable driving experience. Mercedes-Benz's decision to meld two models into one could prove a masterstroke. This new car is bigger than both the models it replaces, and for not much more money than the old C-Class Cabriolet commanded. Better yet, it's significantly more affordable than the outgoing E-Class convertible. It's a delightful open-top cruiser that takes the best of both of its predecessors and bundles them up into one neat and feature-laden package that's hard not to be smitten by. Goldilocks would be pleased. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit like and subscribe to help us deliver you the content you want to see. And for the full written review of this car, be sure to head on to Drive.com.au. And for something completely different, be sure to check out our review of the Mercedes-AMG GLC 63.